Hello everybody, welcome back to the Bad Bookers Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack, and tonight we are reviewing Survivor Series. It was alright. It was only alright. Quite sloppy at times, really interesting booking, and by interesting booking I mean shoddy booking at times. Made you think, like, what the hell's going on here? And it was just weird. A weird night. There was 3 or 4 very good matches on the cards, but the rest of it was just dodgy. Absolutely dodgy. We'll kick off with the pre-show, which you'll later find out the pre-show does not matter. We knew it kind of didn't matter at the start because it was a pre-show at the end of the day, but it doesn't matter because the score of the pre-show didn't go into the score of the main show, so you'll see why. You'll see why later on. So we had the Raw versus SmackDown tag team divisions head to head. Not much to say. It was quite a sloppy, but at the same time very good match. If you get what I mean, like the Colognes weren't too great, but that was kind of expected, I guess. Unfortunately for them. But then there were some fantastic spots with Big E and Chad Gable, as you expect, with Chad Gable deadlifting him and all that. The Revival looked strong, which the first time forever. Unfortunately, Sanity got a bit buried again, but kind of get used to that now with Sanity and stuff like that, don't we? But it did end up with the Usos being the sole survivors for the SmackDown team, putting them, what everyone thought, 1-0 up. But no, it didn't. So yeah, the Usos pinned Chad Gable. No, pinned the Revival. The Revival were the last men standing for Raw, and the Usos pinned them to win the match for SmackDown. Well, not for SmackDown, as it turned out to be. So we kick off the main show with the women's 5v5. There was a whole load of kerfuffle in the pre-show. So obviously the Raw team was Mickie James, Nia Jax, Tamina, Natalya, and Ruby Riott. Obviously, Natalya and Ruby Riott are in this little rivalry with Natalya's dad's sunglasses, and they got kicked off the team because they're fighting each other. So they got kicked off the team, and they got replaced by Bayley and Sasha. So the match on Raw, even now, it's just like, what the fuck's going on? And then we found out the last person on the SmackDown team to replace Charlotte was Mandy Rose, which was expected. They could have done so much better, but it was expected, you know. We go into the match. Nia Jax comes out. 2 hellacious boos, like worse than Roman Reigns boos. It was mental heat, as expected, I guess you could say. With a bit like the tag team match. I'm not going to review it too much, like tell you who got eliminated by who, tell you what spots happened. Raw won to what everyone thought, to make it 1-0, 1-1 even. But at the end, we found out, no, pre-show doesn't matter. It was 1-0 to Raw. Your sole survivor was Nia Jax, taken out. Well, first of all, she turned on Sasha. Sasha was on the top rope, about to do a frog splash on Asuka, but Sasha pushed her off. Asuka put her in the Hakina clutch or Asuka lock, whatever you call it. Sasha tapped out, but then as Asuka was still lying on the floor, Nia came in, leg drops, like 3 or 4 leg drops, Samoan drop, 1, 2, 3, Nia Jax, sole survivor, hellacious boos from the crowd. I quite enjoyed it. I know there's one side of me that says she's an unsafe worker, which I do think she's an unsafe worker. I've also not been a fan of the character of Nia Jax for ages, if ever, really. Maybe a little bit around WrestleMania, because we were kind of like embraced her at that point. She was like, yes, come on Nia, win the title. And then she turned heel a week later. It's just like, what's the point? I liked it because they're kind of jumping on heat, build an actual heel, which everyone hates. So in that way, I kind of like it, if you get what I mean. But yeah, Nia Jax, last women's standing, the sole survivor for the Team Raw side. Team Raw, Remember, 1-0. No one cares about the pre-show, not even Vince McMahon. Especially because they're tag teams, apparently. Next up, we had Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura in what was a dream match for many. I would say it was a dream match for me. Two very, very good wrestlers. And it did not disappoint. It was a very, very good match. Very good back and forth. Good counter wrestling going on. They both made each other look quite strong. And Seth Rollins came out with the win. Curb stomp, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, simple as that. Simple as that. Go and watch it, if I would say, because it was a very good match. I'm not really doing it justice, but it's been a long show, and I didn't write any notes down for it. And some of the booking was just like, ooh, right. But Shinsuke Nakamura, Seth Rollins, they delivered in what was a very good match. Seth Rollins won 2-0 to Raw. Next up, we had, this was where the show started to go downhill drastically. We had the AOP versus the Bar, the tag team champions facing off against each other. AOP came out, and who popped up in the third row on the hard cam in the crowd? None other than Enzo Amore, trying to hijack the show. The crowd around him were either going mental because they loved it or mental because they hate him. Which, you know, don't blame him if they want to hate him. I'm not really fond of him after the news that came out. He was proven innocent, but still like a kind of negative light on the bloke. And to be fair, since he's left WWE, he's been a bit of a knob, hasn't he? So there's that as well. But yeah, he was trying to hijack the show. He then got dragged away by security. And since that point, the crowd weren't interested in the match. No one cared. It was just a bit like, what the hell's gone on? Enzo Amore, why is he trying to hijack the show and all that? And it's just like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? The match ended. AOP won. But the Big Show had Drake Maverick like choked up on. So Big Show was stood on the floor. Drake Maverick stood on the apron, had a choke, kind of like chokehold on him, and Drake Maverick pissed himself. He pissed himself. Interesting. AOP took advantage of the distraction, I guess you could say. Rolled up. Oh no, they did their whatever their finisher move's called on Sheamus. 1, 2, 3. AOP win. Raw are 3-0 up on SmackDown. Drake Maverick pissed himself. Enzo Amore tried to hijack the show. What's going on in wrestling? I don't get it sometimes. But we had a bounce back into what wrestling's good for. 205 Live match. The Cruiserweight Championship. Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali. Once again, 205 Live did themselves proud. It was an extremely good match. Not my match of the night. I know I'm very like a big advocate for 205 Live. I watch it every week and I love it. I rave about it. A very good match, but not my match of the night just yet. It will come later on in the night. Don't you worry. Buddy Murphy retained with his. I'm terrible with finisher names tonight because it's what time is it? 4:10, and I've got no idea what's going on. With his spinning, whatever it is, pinning Mustafa Ali. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, very good match. A lovely Spanish fly off the announce table. We've seen it before, but it does not get old whatsoever. And it was just fantastic. It was a nice little break in the middle of the show from the whole Raw vs SmackDown thing. Perfectly placed. 205 chants going on. This is awesome chants. Loved it. Great match. Well done to the both of them. Buddy Murphy is still the Cruiserweight champion. But next up we had the men's 5v5. The last 5v5 of the evening. And Braun Strowman dominated, ladies and gentlemen. The last man standing on SmackDown's team was you got 5 guesses. There's 5 people. You only need one. Best in the world, Shane McMahon, last man standing for SmackDown. Braun Strowman eliminated 4 people in this match. Drew McIntyre eliminated 1 person, that was Samoa Joe, and that was a minute and a half into the match, which people were going crazy for, like, Joe's underused, why are they booking Joe like this? Drew McIntyre's the next big thing in WWE. You need a big scalp like Samoa Joe to put Drew over a bit more, you know, a bit more. So I didn't mind it. Yes, I agree, Joe needs better booking, but in this case, I thought it was all right, because putting over someone like Drew McIntyre, it's fine by me. So yeah, Shane McMahon versus the final 3 of Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and Drew McIntyre. Shane McMahon had already got rid of Dolph Ziggler, and who got rid of Finn Balor? Rey Mysterio, I think. Yeah, Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor had a really good interchange in the middle of the match. And I'm like, if Finn ever moves to SmackDown, I would love to him and Rey have a United States title feud or something like that, because a singles match between those two will be absolutely money, in my opinion. But yeah, last 3 were Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. As you know, it ended. Shane McMahon eliminated all 3 of them. No, he didn't. Braun Strowman, 1 power slam. Bam. 1, 2, 3. Your survivors on the Raw. Roman Reigns. Jesus. Where did that come from? Your survivors on Raw were, to be fair, if Roman Reigns was wrestling, he probably would have been the survivor. Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre. But afterwards, Baron Corbin attacked Braun from behind. And it kind of just built up this whole Braun versus Baron storyline, which, to be fair, was kind of the only storyline that came out of this, except for what happened next, which I'm kind of itching to talk about. But it finished with Braun Strowman in the ring, really angry. Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley, all with the hands raised on the ramp, looking all smug about themselves. But we'll forget about that. We're moving on to my match of the night, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. Just incredible. There was fluid throughout. Both women looked as strong as anything. Charlotte was grappling with Ronda. Ronda was wrestling with Charlotte, and they just both looked great. Ronda Rousey won the match because Charlotte Flair flipped and turned heel by the looks of it, hitting Ronda Rousey with kendo stick after kendo stick after kendo stick after kendo stick, threw a chair into the ring, went to use it, the ref pulled her out, but she looked like she was going to walk up the ramp. She looked like she was going to walk up the ramp, but no, she came back down. What she called it, natural selection, onto the chair, onto Ronda Rousey. She then put Ronda's head in the chair bit, you know, classic like Edge, what Edge would do back in the day. Stomp on the chair, crushing Ronda Rousey's throat, going absolutely mental, attacking referees, pushing referees out the way, spearing a ref. Oh, Charlotte Flair then turned around to, who was it that, I can't remember who it was, turned around and went, "I'm the baddest bitch." Just beautiful. So we got badass Becky Lynch. We got Charlotte Flair, who we wanted to be heel in the Becky Lynch feud. We've now got both of them heel, which is fantastic in my opinion. The only confusing thing I got from this was the crowd were chanting "You deserve it" to Ronda Rousey, and just booing her. And I was like, why are you booing Ronda Rousey? What's she done wrong? Like, I don't quite get it. I just don't understand, because you're booing her, you're lambasting her, you're really getting into her, like proper pounding into her. But she's going to face Nia Jax, so you're going to cheer her again next week or whenever it is. It just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, match of the night. Go and watch. If you want to watch one match from Survivor Series, go and watch this match, because it was fantastic. We're definitely going to see a 4 horsewoman feud going on at some point. It has to be after that. But it also put in the question that we might still see Ronda versus Charlotte at Mania. Obviously, Becky versus Ronda was what everyone thought was going to happen. But Charlotte Ronda might still happen after tonight. We don't know. But yeah, Ronda Rousey won. That put Raw on 5 now, was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. Next up, Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. Raw got a clean sweep, 6-0. But it wasn't a clean sweep because I remember the pre-show, 6-1. 6-1 it was. Respect the tag team division, Vince. Come on, sort your life out. Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan was as uncomfortable as you think it was going to be for the first 5 minutes. The first German suplex Daniel Bryan landed on his neck, literally on his neck, and it looked horrible. It looked absolutely horrible, and it was just uncomfortable to watch. But then Daniel Bryan started to come back into it. He started to kick Brock Lesnar, started to do all that, and then the stiffest running knee you'll see ever, and then the match started to pick up. Daniel Bryan was on top. The crowd are proper behind him. Daniel Bryan's a face now, no matter what. Daniel Bryan is a face. He turned heel on Tuesday, he's a face again. I don't care what you say. But he was going at it, and then Brock Lesnar, I said this on Twitter, Brock Lesnar, when he wants to, when he's involved in the match, like properly invested in it, he can make people look like absolute superstars. He did it with AJ Styles last year. He did it with Daniel Bryan this year. Daniel Bryan had him in the yes lock after Brock picked up Daniel Bryan to put him in an F5, fell over because Bryan had attacked his knees throughout, knees and legs. So perfect selling point. Into the yes lock. Brock looked like he was going to tap out throughout. It looked perfect. And he got out the yes lock into the triangle hold, I think it was. And then he managed to reverse it. Picked Daniel Bryan up. F5. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar takes it home for Raw. 6-0. 6-1. 6-1. But it was a decent match. It was uncomfortable to start with. But it was a standard Brock Lesnar match, if you get what I mean. He dominates. The babyface gets a bit of offense in. Looks like he might overcome the monster. F5. Thank you very much for coming. So, it was a bit annoying with that sense, and it was a bit uncomfortable because at the start of all the suplexes and whatnot, it's just like, Daniel Bryan's not going to be able to walk out of this. Thankfully, he did, and he looked strong in the process as well. So, that was Survivor Series. Dodgy booking all round, but some very, very good matches indeed. It was okay. If I had to rate it, it would be 3 stars out of 5. Maybe 2.5, like slap bang in the middle. Average at best. Not great, not terrible, but certain points of it were bad. A la Drake Maverick pissing himself. Jesus Christ. But I shall leave it there. If you did like this, please leave a like on the video. It means a lot to us over here on the Bad Bookers podcast. Please subscribe. That also means a lot to us at the Bad Bookers podcast. And check out our podcast, which we are doing a recording. Every Thursday, the recordings. And it should be out either Friday or Saturday night. That would have everyone else's review of Survivor Series, including the review of NXT from last night, and including the review of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and my bit for 205 Live, because I'm keeping 205 Live alive on the podcast. Don't you worry, guys. Thank you very much for watching.